So hey everybody, it's Mickey, and in our last couple videos we've been talking about stocking our pantries and our working kitchen so that we can cook more from home. In today's video, I'm going to be shopping my own shelves and sharing some quick and easy recipes to give you a little inspiration on what kinds of meals you can create for your family at home. So if you are new here, I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe. I put out new videos every week about all things home. Honestly, I could probably do a dozen of these videos because I am really a pantry meal cook. I really love having a well-stocked pantry so that, I can go off plan anytime I want. I meal plan every week, but sometimes you just don't want to make what you have planned. And that is why having a well-stocked pantry is the best solution. You have all your cravings at your fingertips and you don't have to leave the house, get takeout, or spend a bunch of extra money. So why don't we start off our pantry meals with an excellent meatless recipe. Soup is on my meal plan every week, and today let's make some Italian vegetable orzo soup. The first thing that we are going to need is some orzo pasta, and I keep it here in my kitchen pantry in these half-gallon mason jars. I grabbed my pantry bag and we are headed to my food storage room where we are going to get a couple containers of veggie broth. I have an extra one upstairs if I need a little bit more liquid for the soup, and we are going to grab a can of cannellini beans and a can of garbanzo beans. From the refrigerator, I got some celery that we are going to chop up with some onion. I have some carrots here, and I normally put kale in this soup, but I don't have any kale today. So I had some baby spinach in the refrigerator that I can toss in as well. I just have to grab my garlic and we're gonna get chopping. So you can really put just about any veggie that you want in here. I'm kind of sticking just to the celery and carrots and onions and garlic. This is to me like the basis to almost any soup that you make. So you can take these ingredients and create pretty much just about any soup that you want. Now this one is a very vegan-friendly recipe, but you can also add some chicken to this if you have a little bit of leftovers in your refrigerator. This is also good with some leftover turkey around Thanksgiving, so it's a really versatile recipe. I have my small stock pot here on the stove, and I have a tablespoon of butter and some olive oil in there, and we're going to let that melt a little bit, and then we are going to saute our vegetables. We are going to saute these until the onions and the celery is a little bit transparent and the carrots start to soften up just a little bit. So this has been sauteing for a few minutes. As you can see, the onions and the celery are looking translucent. Now, this is completely optional, but I always like to add just a little bit of white wine to my soups. I think it adds another layer of flavor. You can completely leave it out or just use a little extra veggie broth or chicken broth. So I'm going to cook this for a little bit to allow the alcohol to cook off, and then I'm going to add some vegetable broth. So we have our vegetables, we have a little bit of wine in there, we have our veggie broth, and now we are going to add our beans. So I've rinsed and drained 1 can of cannellini beans and 1 can of garbanzo beans. I'm going to mix those in, and then we are going to add our seasonings. So we are going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning. This has like basil and rosemary and thyme, a little bit of oregano. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper, We're also going to add a bit of red pepper flakes. And some garlic powder. We're going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to go ahead and add in our orzo. As you can see, our soup is at a boil, and we are going to add about 3/4 of a cup of orzo. We're going to let this cook for about 8 minutes, and then we are going to put in our spinach. Our orzo has been cooking away, and it is close to being perfect. And now's the time to put in our spinach. So I always have a hard time with spinach because I think I'm putting so much in and then it wilts down to nothing. So really, I would just say use your eyeball and you decide how much is enough for your soup. So I'm starting with like 2 handfuls. We're gonna let that wilt in a little bit and then we will check it again and see if it needs a little bit more spinach. I think it does. I want to put at least 1 more handful in there. We'll let this cook a little bit and then we will serve it up for dinner. This is what our soup looks like all plated up. I have sprinkled a little bit of Romano cheese on top. This is a very hearty soup. Between the beans and the orzo, the broth has become really thick and delicious. It smells so good. I know your family is going to love it. The recipe that we are going to be making today, I lovingly refer to as LALA'S casserole. This is a very sentimental dish in our house. This was a recipe that my mom and her 5 sisters used to make for us kids all the time growing up. It is so delicious and simple to make, and this was my sister Lala's absolutely favorite recipe. She loved chicken. She loved this casserole most of all, and it was one that she made all the time for herself. So whenever I make this dish, it always brings back so many wonderful memories, and you know what? Good memories are so important, and in our family, so many good memories are centered around gathering together with good food and family and friends. So for this recipe, you are going to need about 2 cups of rice. You'll need some chicken broth, some cream of chicken soup and cream of mushroom soup, a packet of Lipton's onion soup mix, and some chicken. Now you could use wings, you can use boneless chicken breasts. Today I have some breast tenderloins I'm going to be using for this recipe, but just about any type of chicken will do. This is also really good if you use pork chops as well. So I have a bowl here with 2 cups of rice in it, and I went ahead and I rinsed the rice really well with some cold water just to kind of wash away that, you know, little extra starch. It kind of helps the rice separate a little bit in the casserole. I've sprayed my 9x13 pan with some non-stick cooking spray. So to this bowl, I am going to add the can of cream of mushroom soup. Now I will admit that this recipe probably isn't one of the healthiest ones that I'll ever share with you. But every now and then I think it is fun to make a recipe from childhood because those ones, they still stand up to today's standards. These were the ones that our families used to feed a ton of kids, because there were a ton of kids in my extended family growing up, and this was one of the ones that we just loved the most. So to one of these cans I'm going to add some chicken broth, and I'm going to mix that all up. We're just going to add this a little bit at a time and just mix this all up. I refer to my cousin Lala as my sister because actually our mothers were sisters, and we grew up a year apart, and we were literally attached to the hip from birth our whole life. And she was my sister that I had lost almost 2 years ago now, and all of my best memories of childhood were with her. She was so much fun. She had the best personality of anyone I have ever met, and she would swear like a sailor, but we loved her just so much. She was so much fun, and she was so much fun to be with in the kitchen. So I have this all mixed up really well, and we are going to add this mixture to the bottom of our 9 by 13 pan. Get in there with your spatula and get every little last drop of this. Kind of smooth it out in your pan a little bit, and then we are going to add our chicken. I have my chicken tenders all prepped, and we're just going to add these across our casserole dish. And because I am who I am, I have to add just a little bit of garlic powder and some Mrs. Dash. There we go. So I have 8 chicken tenders here, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of Mrs. Dash. I'm also going to add a little bit of pepper, some garlic powder, and then I'm going to add 1 packet of the Lipton onion soup. And you're just going to kind of sprinkle that over top of everything. There we go. And then we are going to cover it with some tin foil, and we are going to bake it in a 350 oven for an hour 10 to about an hour 15 minutes until that rice is cooked all the way through. So this is what Lala's casserole looks like all plated up. This is really such a yummy meal. I've paired it here with a little spinach salad. There's some tomatoes in there, some carrots, some feta cheese. It's a great combo. I hope you will try this recipe, and I hope you will let me know down below what you think. So we are going to be making some chili today. I have some ground turkey in my refrigerator that I need to use up before it goes bad, and I thought a big pot of chili would be great. We could eat some for dinner tonight, and then I could put the rest in the freezer. So for that, we are down in the pantry. I am going to need some crushed tomatoes. I'm going to need a bottle of picante sauce. And I'm going to need a can or 2 of beans. So I usually like to use kidney beans in my chili, and I also like to use every now and then some black beans, but I don't think I have any black beans. So I think I'm just going to use a can or 2 of kidney beans. The only other thing that I need before we get started is a packet of taco seasoning. Now I usually have homemade seasoning in my spice cabinet, but I don't have any. So I'm just going to grab a packet of regular taco seasoning up here in my cabinet, and I think we have everything we need to get started. Chili is a good recipe that if you have like a few things in your refrigerator that you want to use up, it's a good recipe just to chop it up and throw it in the pot. Today I have some leftover green pepper. I made pizza earlier today for lunch, and I have some pepper left over with a little bit of pepperoni in there as well. I have about a half an onion here that I'm going to chop up and toss in my ground meat when it gets to be about, halfway cooked through. I've transferred my meat to my stock pot. I am going to add my 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I'm going to add a bottle of picante sauce. We're going to add some spices here. We're going to do that whole packet of taco seasoning, a little bit of Mrs. Dash, garlic powder, some basil. We're also going to add a little bit of sugar, and then a nice heaping bit of red pepper flakes. So we're going to turn this on and get this going over like a medium heat. We'll stir it up, bring it to a boil, and then we will simmer it for about, I guess, like a half hour, 40 minutes, say. I cannot believe I almost forgot one of the most important things, and that is our kidney beans. So I have them rinsed from the can, and we're going to mix those in as well. Our chili is looking just about done. A lot of people look at chili as like a fall or a winter meal. I make it all year long. You can use it as a filling for tacos, for burritos. You can make a really good chili mac with it. We just love chili in our house. I topped our chili today with some sour cream and cheddar cheese, and I laid it on a bed of white rice. Using some white rice is a great way to extend your chili, especially if you are feeding a crowd. It is a really great combo. So that's going to do it for me today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this easy pantry meal video. If you enjoyed this one, I would love to do more of these videos for you. I think that pantry cooking is just the best and easiest way to feed our families and always be prepared to get a meal on the table. Check out the description box down below for details to all the recipes that I shared in today's video. Join our communities over on Facebook and Instagram at My Bashful Life, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you all back as part of our YouTube family. So until I see you in that next video, I hope that you love the life that you have. Be kind to each other, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.